Good morning, my Teaserking family. Didn't want the sweatshirt on. The professor back for another day's class. Today we're going to talk on the bowl games, the first week till the 17th, which was next, this Saturday. As we get closer, we'll start talking about more of the games. There's two things we need to look at: the injuries and who's sitting out. Not as much this first week who's sitting out. You don't really have who's going to sit out. Mostly it's the players we care about are going to be the quarterbacks. Maybe if you have a real superstar runner. But it's going to be mostly the quarterbacks who are sitting out. Like when we were getting hurt during the year, where the Oregon quarterback or the Utah quarterback all of a sudden mysteriously sits out. The Oklahoma quarterback, the Kansas quarterback. So let's go through the games. We can go through all the games right now, but we're going to then focus on the ones through the 17th. So we got UAB 10.5 down from now the original number. I haven't touched it since I got the first line. 10.5, 44.5 down from 11.5. So a little bit of money on Miami of Ohio. We'll get into the type of team they are. Troy minus 1.5 down from 3, 55.5. Louisville minus 1. Cincy was minus 1. Now their coach is now coaching Wisconsin, so we don't know if he's coaching. That's a hard one to tell if the coach is coaching. Like I don't understand these coaches that they coach the whole year, they get to the bowl, they get a new job. Why are you taking the new job before this bowl game? Is this like your last job, or are you leaving now and then the assistant's the coach? Usually that's what happens. So like Cincinnati and Louisville will each have a new coach. 142.5. Oregon State 10.5, up from 7.5. 52.5. So the Florida quarterback, what has changed is the Florida quarterback, Richardson, who's not any good anyway, says, you know what, I'm going to sit out for the draft. Why? Who would draft the guy? The guy's terrible. So Oregon State, 10.5, 52.5. I look for a little bit of a move up, money on Oregon State. How bad's the Florida backup is the real question, which we'll get into. Fresno State 3. Washington State was 4. So what happened here? 354.5. So Washington State, I think their quarterback. Well, let's quickly look at the injuries. Yeah, it doesn't show. I got to go to mycovers.com and check the injuries. We'll do that. Washington State's got the killer defense, so we got to see what's happening. Now this is a strange game. Southern Miss 6.5 over Rice. They're in the same conference. This isn't a bowl game. This is just a regular conference game, but it's into a bowl game. Southern Miss 6.5, 45.5. I don't know. We'll have to walk through these games. SMU 5.5, up from 3. 64.5. This was 75. Now it's 64.5. The BYU quarterback, talking to my BYU connection, says he doesn't think he's playing. So the backup's probably going. So we will see. What does that mean? How bad's the backup? Boise 10.5, 56.5 from 7. So that went from 7 to 10.5, 54 to 56.5 against North Texas. North Texas is a pretty explosive team. Then now we get to the 19th, and we got Marshall 10.5 and 40.5. Marshall, the real good defensive team. Then the next day we got San Jose State down to 3.5 and 54.5 versus Eastern Michigan. We've got Toledo 4.5 up from 2, 53.5 up from 52 against Liberty, who's been kind of weak this year. South Alabama is up from 3 to 7 and 53.5 down from 64. What the hell happened here? So it looks like Western Kentucky's quarterback isn't playing. If the line shoots up on South Alabama and the under, that's the second under to drop 10 points. So you can see the SMU BYU was 75, which I thought was way too high, is now 64. That could be doable. And then because SMU we know will score, that's a pretty good over. And then Western Kentucky drops 10 points to South Alabama. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Baylor's 6.5 from 7, no movement, which is good. 49.5 up from 45. So that has jumped, which is good because we want to make sure Baylor's playing their guys, which it looks like they are in this game, and it's not. It doesn't look like their quarterback's not playing. Lou Lafayette, Houston. Houston went from 3 to 6.5 and 58.5 from 60. Wake 1.5, 60.5 to Missouri. Mr. Hartman there. San Diego State went from 1 to 6.5 and 48 to 49. A lot of monkeying around going on here with these lines. Bowling Green is now a 3-point favorite over New Mexico State. Makes no sense. Over under 47. I love New Mexico State, provided their quarterback's playing. And I can't believe New Mexico State's quarterback is going to sit out for the pros. That's never going to happen. So that's a really good play there. Georgia Southern 3.5, 66.5 from 4.5, 64 up to 66. Memphis 7.5 down from 10 and 61.5 down from 65 against Utah State. So you got to watch both, because if the line drops, and maybe like the Baylor game, the line didn't go down, so the Baylor quarterback's fine. And then the over-under shot up. So that tells me Air Force didn't make a move. Baylor didn't make a move. Like if Baylor would have made a move, that line would have dropped, but it went up. So that doesn't show me Baylor's not. Air Force's quarterback's never sitting out unless he's hurt or unless he's in action. East Carolina 9.5, 16.5 to my Coastal Carolina, but we like the over in the game as long as McCall is playing. So we got to just kind of go through that. I don't see him as getting ready for the pros. So if he's healthy, then I don't know what the hell is going on. Wisconsin, Oak State. Now Wisconsin gets the new coach, but I doubt he's coaching. Wisconsin laying 3, 43.5. Jesus Christ, this is down from 51 to 43.5. What is Vegas doing? I don't think they really have a clue. Well, let's just put it this way. Spencer Sanders is in the portal, so let's assume he's not playing. We know Oak State's terrible without him. So that could be this is Spencer Sanders, but why didn't the 3 go? So why isn't Wisconsin favored by 9 now or 10? So really interesting. UCF and Duke. Duke's 1.5. UCF was 3 and 62.5. A lot of strange line movements. Kansas arc went from 4 to 3, and 67 goes to 68. So that's okay. Oregon 14.5 from 10, and 71 goes to 70, which of course we like the over in this game. Texas Tech Ole Miss, we've got Ole Miss 3.5, 69.5, up from 66. Syracuse, Minnesota 7.5, 42.5, down from 45. This should be an under. Oklahoma, Florida State. Now, Oklahoma's sitting out some linemen. I don't know why. Florida State still 7, and this over went from 60 to 66. Doesn't really make any sense if the tackles are sitting out, why the over-under jumps out. Texas 5.5, 68.5, up from 3 to 5.5, 66 to 68.5. Maryland 1.5 from 3, 47.5. That hasn't changed. UCLA is 6.5, which is good news. And over-under went from 60 to 57.5. I look for UCLA to kill them here. Notre Dame went from 4.5 to 2.5 with Meyer being out, so I don't quite understand. The over went to 51. Ohio went from 3 to 1, 42.5 against Wyoming. Clemson 6.5 and 64.5 against Tennessee. Again, Hooker's out. See, Tennessee's not 6 without Hooker. They're 6 with Hooker, so this makes no sense. And Clemson's certainly not one of the top 7. Iowa 2.5, 31.5. Against Kentucky, their quarterback's out. So how do they just make it 2.5, 10? Why they just make the over-under 10? It's just crazy. Alabama 3.5 from 4.5. Kansas and 54.5 hasn't moved. So a little bit of money on K-State. Michigan's down to 7.5 and 58.5. Georgia's 6.5, 61.5. Illinois 2.5. They're now favored 46.5 from 45. I'm surprised that's going up. USC's now a 1.5 and a 61. Purdue is LSU's 10.5 and 58. And Utah's now minus 2.5, 51.5. I didn't think those would stay. I love them both as dogs, but maybe we're getting the USC quarterback. That's what it sounds like. McCall's transferred into the transfer portal, which makes East Carolina a really good play. My opinion on UTSA, Troy. Yeah, I liked it better at 3. I really like the game over. Troy's starting to score. UTSA, Troy's got the better defense, so I think I'd be better off playing the game over. It's only 55 with UTSA. So I think you're better off that way. This is the problem I have. I want to bet like USC now and UCLA now, and I'm worried about the transfer portal. Well, I'm not worried about the transfer portal as much as I'm worried about them getting ready for the draft. That's where, when I see these strange line movements, so SMU, BYU, probably BYU's quarterback, and then this Western Kentucky, I got what's going on there that this thing dropped 10 points. Now, I know during the year, We would have 5-point line movements and there'd be absolutely no reason. Well, good luck at your doctor, Todd. Hope you're healthy. If you really need just fast, if you really want to recover, you go on a 3-day fast, which lets your body clean itself up, like your body fixes your own broken bones. And you can have tea and water, just no sugar, no artificial sweeteners. Lemon and green tea and some ginger, little cinnamon. And you can have that a couple, as much as you want, and then just don't eat for 3 days, which really isn't hard to eat dinner on Sunday. You just don't eat anything Monday or Tuesday. And then Wednesday you eat dinner and you've fasted for 72 hours. It's let the autophagy kick in and that cleans you up over anything. Far better than what any doctor is going to give you. They just mask whatever the problem is. But so the hard part now is, okay, is Utah playing? Well, based on the line it is, but that's January 2nd. This is December 13th. So we got 3 weeks. Is Rising going to sit out? Is he going to go pro? Well, I'm going to go pro, so I won't play. This is what I don't know. This is why it's hard to bet this early on the games that I want to bet on. Here, look at Michigan went from 10 to 7.5. Well, nobody's going portal in that game. Georgia hasn't moved. A little money on Kansas State. UCLA got a little bit of money, as USC and UCLA. So do I make those bets? And then I got to live with them if they go to the, sit out for the draft. This is going to be very, this is the problem with bowls now. I don't really get Oklahoma, Florida State, 2 tackles and a defensive player in Oklahoma are sitting out. Hasn't made a difference. They went up to 66. So I don't know, North Carolina, Oregon. I like the line moved on Oregon, which is fine. This is May sitting out. If he is, Oregon's going to kill him. Maybe that's what's happening, but I'll have to go through the injuries in the transfer portal. So let's go through that. So those are our lines. We have about 10 locks waiting to be locked. And then you just, do we now like East Carolina? Because if McCall's out, we definitely like East Carolina because without McCall, they sucked. All right, so let's go to the transfer portal. So I have a site for the transfer portal, which is updated list of college football. It's from the Sporting News. List of football stars skipping the bowl. So I'm going to refresh this. And hopefully this is live as of now, 12/7. Yeah, see, this is not new. We have to get out of it and then try to come back and say this is 6 days ago. Here we go, 24. Let's go to 24/7 college football bowl game opt-out tracker. Okay, this is better. So this is 24/7 sports, and this is more current. So I'm looking for a thing that's not, they don't want to update it. Players clear for NFL draft skips postseason. So among the most notables yet to decide, Bryce Young and Will Anderson, Alabama. This will be updated through the month leading up to college football's first bowl game. Ohio State whiteout. Yeah, we knew that. I just want a list like I had on the other one, but he's not updating his list. All right, so I went to the next page and I'm getting a bunch of ads. So what the fuck? We're expecting a record number of opt-outs for the 22 bowl season after last fall featured more than 3 dozen decisions. Here's a look at the most noticeable announcements as of December 12th. So this would be through yesterday. Bijan Robinson, Roshan Johnson, Demarion Overshone, Texas. Junior running Bijan Robinson, senior running back, and senior linebacker are all opting out of the Longhorns' upcoming Alamo showdown with Washington. So what did we have here? I mean, this is just going to be fucked. So they're all out. And yet Texas is favored. So what's going on with Washington? And 10 players who have either announced their intention to transfer or have entered. So have entered the transfer, including backup quarterback. Okay. Will Levis at Kentucky. Potentially the top quarterback in this year's cycle. I don't know what that means. Announced Wednesday he was skipping his final season in Kentucky's bowl game to turn pro. Well, okay. Good luck with you. Good luck being the third stringer on Detroit. Kristen Gonzalez, cornerback at Oregon. Who gives a shit? Joey Porter Jr., cornerback at Penn State. Who cares? Wanya Morris, Oklahoma. Some wide receiver at Maryland. Who cares? Anthony Richardson at Florida. Oh, he's the star quarterback now. Well, too bad he never showed up. That leaves the Gators with a third-team quarterback as their starter. So let's quickly Florida, Oregon State. So we're going to bet Oregon State quickly. And we got to bet Washington. Washington's getting 5.5. Jesus. So is Washington sitting their players out? Mike Meyer, Notre Dame, we know. Tell me something different. Jay Ward, cornerback, LSU. If it ain't Boucher, I don't really care. Drew Sanders, linebacker, Arkansas. That's fine. I'm betting the over in the game. Davion Thomas, Utah. No big deal. But yet he's going to play in the Shrine game. What the fuck is that all about? He's rehabbing a toe injury. So he's basically injured. All right. What the fuck? Just call yourself injured. Chris Rodriguez, also at Kentucky. So Kentucky's, and they're not that good, Kentucky. Dalton Kincaid, tight end, Utah. Now he's pretty good. So that hurts Utah. And yet they're still favored because Penn State's losing a guy. But as long as it isn't rising, we'll be okay. Began to prep it. Well, rehabbing the injury. He said Kincaid has played in 12 games. He's got some injury. Well, they all got some injury. So we don't have That's all we've got. So I'm going to mark this. So, with that being said, see, it doesn't have McCall in here, but Todd just told us about McCall. Let me know if there's anything on Washington, because why are they still 5.5-point dogs to Texas if the running backs are sitting out? All right, let's go into the injuries. I'm going to go down to Washington first. I love Washington if they're dogs without Texas's players. So Utah doesn't show it on the injury list, which maybe he's not injured. Maybe that's why. Washington, just the tight end is injured. Washington State doesn't show the quarterback or anybody injured. So what's Washington State? I guess we got to go to transfer. So let's go through the injuries, but I don't know if we're getting what we need on the injury list. Air Force got a wide receiver. Alabama, defensive back, wide receiver. Arizona State, Arkansas, no Jefferson, Army, Ball State, Baylor. Baylor's got a wide receiver, questionable. Boise, a couple of wide receivers. BYU, so their quarterback is probable. My buddy, who's a BYU guy, says he doubts he's going to play, so we don't know what to do with BYU. Who's got SMU, and it went down 10 points, so we assume the quarterback's not playing. UCF, Mikey Keene, the second quarterback, is questionable. Charlotte, Cincinnati, we got a big one. The quarterback's out, Ben Bryant. The coach is gone. I just find this to be hysterical that the coach leaves in the middle. And here comes a new coach. This happens to Cincinnati. This is like the third time, right? The guy went to Notre Dame. They're undefeated, going for the national title, and the coach leaves to run to Notre Dame. How did that work out, Mr. Go, I run to Notre Dame, who's now I ran to LSU. So Cincinnati, they got some injuries, some questionables. Clemson, I think they're a mess. I don't know. I think Buglia is in the transfer portal. Coastal Carolina doesn't say, it says Carpenter's out. It doesn't say the other guy. Duke, Eastern, Florida. See, even Florida, it doesn't say Richardson's out. This is the problem. Covers showing injuries, but not showing they got 6 wide receivers questionable or out, but it doesn't show Richardson, the quarterback, out. What's the point of this injury list if it's not going to list the guys sitting out for that? Or we'll have to go to the transfer. Fresno State supposedly healthy. Georgia, a lineman and a tight end, and a wide receiver, McConkey. He'll play. He's questionable at the knee, but they need him. Georgia Southern. This is, I think they're playing. They got 3 receivers out and an LS. I guess that's a safety and a DL. Georgia Tech, a couple of, they're not even in it. Houston, wide receiver. Illinois, a couple of running backs, but not their key running back. They have a all-American running back, but I don't see him. Indiana, Iowa, quarterback's out. Look, Kentucky's quarterback's out. Iowa's quarterback out, and that's why you got a 31.5 over/under. And I don't see how they're going to get there because Kentucky's got a really good defense also. So it's going to be a problem. Iowa State's not in it. Kansas, O lineman out. tight end, but not their good tight end out. Kansas State. Martinez, the starting quarterback who sucks, is questionable. The good one, Howard, is he's not even on here, so he should be good to go. Kentucky, we see, but it doesn't show Levis. It shows some receivers. LSU, Daniels is with an ankle and a cornerback and a running back and a safety, so they got some injuries. Louisville, they play the 17th, so they got a running back and a quarterback. So their backup quarterback. Marshall, a wide receiver. Maryland, nothing major. Memphis, nothing. Miami's not even in here. Michigan with Corm out for the season with the knee, a tight end, a safety. Nothing there. Middle Tennessee. Minnesota, Morgan still questionable. Their quarterback. Old Miss, nothing. Now, Mississippi State, their coach had a heart attack the other day. Whatchamacallit, Mike Leach with the designing that fast break offense that doesn't seem to work in the SEC. So he's probably not coaching with the heart attack, I would doubt. Missouri, running back DL, questionable, OL. So it gets to the point, if they're injured, are they even playing? NC State, we know their quarterback's injured. Nebraska's not in this mess. New Mexico State, their quarterback's not injured. I don't understand why they're getting points now against Bowling Green. North Carolina, running back Hood is questionable. Their quarterback shows. So I got to look in the transfer pool. That'll be our next little adventure. Notre Dame, we know Meyer's out, but he's not on the injured list. Ohio, Rourke's out for the season. He's a very good quarterback. And they are playing somebody, Miami of Ohio. Don't confuse Miami of Ohio with Ohio. And all the Ohio, it's amazing how many Ohio colleges are there. Ohio's playing Wyoming minus something, -3. The quarterback's out, but he's been out. Wyoming, decent, an under little defensive team. Probably stay under. Smith Najima for Ohio State's out, which basically he played one play the whole year against Notre Dame, got hurt, never played again. So I really want to draft this guy. He gets on the field and stays on the field. He's another one of these bozas. So if you want to draft a guy like this and watch him just sit on the bench the whole time, so you can assign him to what, a 4-year, $20 million contract. The guy won't, he'll make 2 catches for you in 4 years. Just obviously a winner because he had a good Rose Bowl 2 years ago when everybody was on Olave. Henderson, questionable, and Pryor, running back. So they're a little beat up. Oklahoma, tight end, but they, like I said, 2 tackles and a running back are out that have declared for the draft. Oak State, Spencer Sanders, probably. He went to Portal, so I assume he's out. They got a few injuries. They're getting 3 from Wisconsin, but with this team, they're pretty bad. The over-under went down to 43. It looks like they got a lot of injuries, Oak State, so stay away from them. Oregon, healthy. Oregon State, healthy. Penn State, they're one guy, which who cares? Cornerback is going pro, so go pro. Who's going to draft this guy? Purdue, a couple of receivers, running back. Rutgers, San Diego State, nothing. South Carolina, now that Rattler looks like a real quarterback now. He's like Pinocchio. He's a real boy now. Nothing there. USC, Williams, hamstring questionable, but based on them now being favored, we're going to say he's playing. SMU, receiver and a running back are injured. they're laying 5.5 to BYU and 75 down to 64. Very interesting. Syracuse, nothing major. Their quarterback's back, some defensive players. Tennessee, Hooker's out, so I don't know why they're number 7. Texas, we know the 2 running backs are out, so they're gone. TCU, wide receiver in September, so that's absolutely nobody. Nobody's going portal, and nobody important is going portal or entering the draft for TCU. We know that. UTSA, we got a couple of running backs questionable. That's about it. Toledo, nobody. Troy, a linebacker and a defensive tackle, which could hurt them. They're a good defensive team. Tulane, Tulsa, nobody. UAB, nobody. UCLA, nobody. Lafayette. A quarterback, Woolridge, who I thought was starting to play well, is out for the season. For Lou Lafayette, who are they playing? I know they're playing Lou Laff. They're playing Houston, and they don't have their quarterback. 58.5, 6.5, 58.5. Houston could beat them. We got to check that out. Utah, the tight end Kincaid, that hurts. But Rising's the key. Utah State, 2 quarterbacks are out. Logan Banner, who was their starter, and then Williams, who I don't know if he's their starter or not. With these running quarterbacks, the guy comes in to run, he gets hurt, but you don't know if he's the starter or just the runner. Wake Forest, Hartman is there. Nobody really. Washington, I don't see anything. Washington State, I don't. A wide receiver. West Virginia, Western Kentucky, no injuries. Wisconsin, they're down to 10. They used to have like 30 players on there. They got 4 out with the leg, 2 tight ends, a defensive end, a linebacker, and then that's it. So a running back in there, Wyoming. So we need to go to the transfer portal. I have that. So I thought I put that in here. My Lufthansa, I want to go back to Lisbon. I got football stars skipping bowl games, but I think that's the one I just did. Sometimes I put these in the wrong bookmark. All right, so let's see if I can get back to transfer portal. Right, hold on. Same thing, 24/7 transfer portal. Maybe we get more information. Nebraska, do we care? West Virginia, no. Northwestern, Jensen Hopper Price, the wide receivers leaving Nebraska, Northwestern. Couldn't make the grades, I guess. Tulsa, Pitt. Let's see. Emory Jones, cornerback. He used to be at Florida, couldn't cut it there. Then he went to Arizona State, couldn't cut it there. They always seem to do better after he leaves. Fresno State, Joshua Kelly, wide receiver, must not be any good. A lot of Arizona State guys. They must not like the new coach. Oh, Alabama receivers leaving. Oh my God, they're going to take his house away from him. Arizona, Michigan. Michigan's losing a guy. Oh my God. Let's see. Michigan State, Arkansas, Louisville, linebacker. There's Grayson McCall. The fuck is he doing? They call him a 2-star. That's interesting. He's far better than that. So he won't be there for Cole. So I guess once you go, then you don't play. So guy's out of his fucking mind. Unless he's going to like UCLA or something. Utah, an edge rusher, nobody good. Let's see. Let's see, UCLA. Let's load a few more players. I'm back to 12-9. So far, the only impact player I see leaving, which makes sense, is McCall. Maybe he gets to a better school because they need a guy like him. That I could understand. Maybe you got to go now before the bowl game. Maybe there's a limited time and you got to go now, which makes no sense. J.T. Daniels from West Virginia, 5-star who plays like a 2-star. He sucks. He sucked at Arizona State. He sucks wherever he's gone. So, or no, he was at USC, I think. He sucked at USC, went to Georgia, sucked there. Now he's went to West Virginia, sucked there. Where's he going to go now? Okay. Jake Kern, Washington. Who cares? He's the backup quarterback. Let him go. Colorado, an athlete. He's leaving. He can't handle Deion. He's quickly running to Cal. It's like, oh shit, Deion's coming. I'm out of here. Aiden Robbins from Vegas. Some more Arizona State guys. These guys aren't going to be any good. If they're any good, they'd be playing in the bowl game and getting ready for the draft. So I'll make one more load. This is 12-7. See, I can't, like, if we go through it, like Washington, are we worried about Penix? Well, he just transferred there. He's not transferring out. Thompson Robinson certainly not transferring out. Neither is Rising. Any of our studs that we are going to bet on are not going anywhere. The only thing we need to worry about, are they going to the draft? That we don't know. So let's go through our teams. So on the 16th, UAB minus 10.5, 44.5 against Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio is an under team, good defense. UAB is the B team, very strong, good defense, not great, mid-20s. And I'm a little more leery on college now, where before I might call them a 22 and under defense. I'm calling them an E defense now. So they're probably still a good under defense, but I'm trying to differentiate enough the unders from the E's from the overs. And so if it's like 28, 29, they're overs. And if they're like 21 and under, they're unders. So if they're between like 22 and 26 or 27, I'm calling them E's now. So I'm calling UAB an E, even though they have a strong defense. This game, I look for UAB 10.5. I like this game under 44.5 to 50. Miami of Ohio is just a low-scoring team, and UAB is a little more high-scoring, but they got that strong defense, so I don't see a lot of points there. And keep in mind, these earlier games are okay. When you get down to the 28th, the 29th, the 1st, 31st, 1st, these guys haven't played in a month. It's going to take them at least a quarter to really get going. Maybe not with UCLA and Utah and USC, but most of these teams, it's going to take them a little bit to get going. So keep that in mind, because you lose your timing, which is what I always scream about in the pros, is once you lose your timing, you're fucked, and it takes you a while. You don't just turn the switch and get your timing back. So keep that in mind. UTSA Troy, as I just told Todd, Troy's now down to 1.5, 55.5. I got UTSA -7. Troy, we know, is a good defensive team, but have been scoring lately. UTSA scored a lot on UAB, who's very similar to Troy, except they actually score better. But Troy's been scoring better. I like the game over 55.5. UTSA and 7.5 should be good. We like Frank Harris. Very explosive team, UTSA. Very good team. Their defense is a little weak. I think this will be a very close game. I like the dog, and I like the over. I think I like the over a little bit more, 55-49, with Troy scoring a little bit more. Should score on UT. This should be a pretty 60-point game or so. Cincinnati, Louisville, both coaches have left. What the fuck's going on here? So how do you play with coach? This is going to be interesting. How do you, we'll go for it on 4th down. How do you, let's kick a field goal? How do you call what plays? Both teams have knockout defenses. Malik Cunningham for Louisville looks like he's playing, as far as I don't see him injured. I don't see him in the portal. Well, he wouldn't be in the portal, but I don't see him getting ready for the draft or injured. So I assume he's playing, as is Cincinnati. Their quarterback is out. Cincinnati was a 1. Louisville's now a 1. Again, both coaches are gone, which is ironic, because the Louisville coach is now the coach on Cincinnati, where the Cincinnati coach, Fickle, jumped to Wisconsin. The Purdue coach jumped to Louisville. So here he was at Louisville, puts up 40 points a game, goes to Purdue for some reason, doesn't do anything, which doesn't surprise you. You know, you get into the Big Ten, it's tough. So it doesn't. So he jumps now. I'm sure he's not coaching. Braun Fickle's gone. The Louisville coach is on the Cincinnati side. It's a mind fuck the whole game. So the backups, I'm assuming, are coaching. Cincinnati's quarterback's out. This is another I like the under in the game just because of the backup quarterback, and the defenses are both very strong. It's tough without the coach. SMU, BYU, SMU 5.5. This one from 75 to 64.5. We don't see anybody in the portal. We don't see the injury. We see the injury to the quarterback that says he's probable, that my friend who's a BYU along who gets all the BYU says he doubts he's playing with the hand injury. So BYU doesn't have their starting quarterback. Now we know SMU scores, and there's no reason they're not playing and trying to score and trying to win, as would be BYU. So this is over against over. This to me is an over game. Even without the BYU quarterback, I'm okay. SMU will light it up because that's what they do. They score a ton. BYU does not have a good defense. We remember the Oregon game all too well, where Oregon lit them up. So we definitely like the over in this game. I would take BYU in 11.5, but if the quarterback's probably out, I can't take it, which leaves me with do I like SMU even? Nah, I can't trust them in this type of game. The only way I could go is over, which I hadn't thought about because it was 75. Now it's 64, and I'm going for 58 in an SMU game. That's doable. Washington State, Fresno State. I don't see an injury to Washington State's quarterback. I see injuries to the receivers. I don't see – there's no way the Washington State quarterback would go transfer portal. He just got there. He's from Incarnate Ward. Fresno State, we know Hayner's there, so we're not worried about Hayner. We like Fresno State as the dog. They were getting 4 up to 10. Now they're laying 3. Over, under. They're both under defenses. Washington State's got a great defense. Over, under 54.5. Again, I like this game over, even with Hayner. Again, I didn't love it as the dog because of Washington State's defense. So I like, again, the defense with Washington State here. Rice and Southern Miss. Let's go back. So Washington State's a B team, strong defense. Fresno State's an A team with Hayner, strong defense. They can score. This is going to be a tough game for them to score against Washington State, one of the toughest defenses in the country. So Washington State's been holding the Pac-10 teams down. So look for that. Look for this to be, 54 under 60. Should be pretty good. They both have strong defenses, and that's where if a late guy sits out, it doesn't. Who cares if it's a defensive guy? It's not going to really hurt you. Rice, Southern Miss, they're both E teams. Rice has the over defense. Southern Miss, even defense. Neither team's got a great offense. Over under 45.5, and Southern Miss 6.5. I have no idea. Southern Miss, I really had a hard time getting a grasp on. Rice was an over team, and a couple games they don't score. They have a weak defense. I have no idea. I don't even know why this is a bowl game. They're both in the Conference USA. This makes no sense why this is a bowl game. You're supposed to be playing – it'd be like Michigan – it'd be like Purdue playing Maryland in a bowl game. No, they're both in the Big Ten. You don't play them. So I don't know. We have better games. We have better fish to fry than this one. Florida and Oregon State. Florida's quarterback's out. He wasn't that good anyway, but they were scoring more. Without him, they're certainly not an over offense. Their defense still sucks. Oregon State's a B team. They've been scoring. They have a great defense. They're now 10.5, which is a little bit high for Oregon State. So I probably like this game over 52 to 46. Oregon State's going to play some rough defense. Florida, they're not going to care. Maybe we lay 4.5. Florida, it depends how much the quarterback hurts them. He sucked, so I don't really get why he's sitting out to get drafted by whom. Who's going to draft him? The kid's not good. Why would you draft the guy? There's a whole lot of better players that I'm drafting than this guy. So I don't really get why he's sitting out. He needs to show he can do something against this Oregon State defense. So what you have is this good defense. Oregon State's the much better team now. Florida with a weak defense. Could get ugly. Yeah, I think I like Oregon State. I like the over with the quarterback, but if he's gone, I don't know if Florida scores that much. Oregon State, even with Chase Nolan's out, been scoring. Let's not forget they beat Oregon, so it was a high-scoring game, but Oregon State's a good team. So I without the Florida quarterback, I think I like Oregon State. I got to do some research on the Florida backup quarterback. I take every quarterback and I analyze them. I don't, it's just looking touchdowns, interceptions, stuff like that, how many games they played, and we will see. But Oregon State is an SEC defense. It's pretty close to Georgia's, actually. So I don't know. Without this quarterback, I don't think Florida's going to score. North Texas, Boise, 10.5, 56.5, up from 54. 10.5 up from 7. Boise, I'm not crazy about. North Texas, explosive. They score a lot. I like the over in the game. 56-50. North Texas should score. Boise has Bachmeier was a quarterback. He's out. They got Green now, and he seems to score. So I think we get a lot of points in the game with North Texas. Good offense, terrible defense. Should be a lot of points for both teams in this game. Marshall, Connecticut. Marshall 10.5, 40.5. Connecticut's got some injuries. Marshall, excellent defense, very strong under team. Beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame, but a lot of their wins have been like 17-10. This is a premier under team, much like Iowa State, Washington State, Illinois. Very strong defense. And we'll go through one more day, the 20th. EMU, San Jose State. Well, let's talk. So Marshall's an under team, as we talked. Connecticut's a W team. They don't have a lot of offense. They started playing well, but they got hurt, and then they have a weak defense. So Marshall won't take advantage of the weak defense, but then UConn will be lucky to score in the game. Eastern Michigan's an over team. San Jose State is a B team who didn't score a lot. So they scored early, so we got to look at them. I think Eastern's a live dog, but I want to check it out first. So we'll take a look. But we do have a live over in Eastern, I believe. And the last game will be Liberty and Toledo. Toledo's an over team. They score a lot, give up, but they have injuries. Liberty's an even team. So they score mid-20s, give up mid-20s. Toledo minus 4.5, 53.5. Probably an over. I don't know. Liberty's been a mystery. Toledo does score, but lately hasn't been. So we got to see if we go. So let's go back to week 13, 14. And we go Hawaii, San Jose State, and San Jose State 27-14. And so we look at them against Eastern, and Hawaii sucks, and they can only score 27. I think Eastern's a very live dog here. UTEP, UTSA, 34-31, UTSA. TCU killed Iowa State. Lou Lafayette, Texas State. Lou Lafayette puts up a 41 on a decent Texas State defense. And Lou Lafayette, we got against Houston. So that could be a nice over there. Let's see, where do we want to go to? Houston, Tulsa. Tulsa beats them 37-30, couple of over teams. We had the over. Houston is playing Lou Lafayette with a 58. That should get there. Who did we want to look at? We were looking at Liberty Toledo. Toledo lost to Western 20-14, who's a very bad team. Cincinnati, Tulane. Tulane beat them 27-24. So, Howard, why are you looking at these old scores? Because these give you information that's valuable. That's what you need. See, the question is the expected outcome. Once you get, see here, James Madison, Coastal Carolina, 47-7. James Madison, Coastal Carolina didn't show up. Now we got a game against East Car, and, you know, I doubt they're going to show up here. We got to be careful with Oak State. Now we like Washington getting points, provided Penix is playing, which I'm not aware he's not. UCLA, same thing. The UCLA over-under is 57, is 51 over. Pitt is kind of an even team. They're kind of a B team even. I think their quarterback's gone. Slovis, I think, transferred or is in the portal. He sucked anyway. I just think UCLA kills them. TCU should be good. Georgia should be good. Illinois, maybe an under against Mississippi State with the coach in a heart attack. I don't know how that's going to affect it. Again, USC over Tulane, Utah, Penn State. Yeah. So the question is, do I go and I bet USC and UCLA, Utah, Washington, Oregon now? Do I wait? What's the advantage? Well, the guys sit out, and I've got a bet out with my guy not playing, which versus the line moving, and I get a bad line because I waited, and that's really the problem. So what do you do? Now, the line's telling me they're playing. Otherwise, why would the line move? So if I use that as knowledge, then I can go with it. Very tricky, because I don't want to cost us all a lot of money betting on Utah and then rising play. Because the line went from 1.5 to 2.5, even though I lost my tight end and they lost their cornerback, my line moved to Utah. So we've got to be careful. There's a couple of games I can probably play now because I know those guys like Georgia. Nobody in Georgia is transferring or sitting out for the pros or for TCU, Michigan. None of those. Oregon, North Carolina. Oregon moving. So I don't see, is North Carolina, is May sitting out? Well, I don't see him sitting out, but maybe he's talking about it. Oregon will kill him if May doesn't play. If May plays, then we should get an over. North Carolina with a good over team. Florida State, Oklahoma. I love the over in the game because they score and have no defense. So the fact 2 tackles go apparently doesn't matter. Florida State should score a ton on them. Again, Washington, I love it. If they're the dog, if the 2 running backs are out, why is Texas still favored in the game? Unless Penix is sitting out, but I'm not aware of that. So this gets very critical here of what we perceive. When do we bet? Because we're so advanced, we bet now. I want to bet Utah today laying 2.5 and USC laying 1.5. Instead of waiting, I don't wait till January 2nd to make the bet. I want to bet it now. Just like the pros, I tend to bet the pros like now. I don't tend to fuck around with them. Occasionally I might on a Sunday, but even when I knew Lamar Jackson wasn't playing, I bet Baltimore then. I didn't wait till Sunday. Hey, Todd, Mississippi State coach Leach passed Monday night. Prayers. Oh, yeah, I knew he had a heart attack. He was always heavy and no no offense, but when you see a real heavy guy, they've got diabetes. They're gonna have strokes and heart attacks. That's why I try to keep my stomach flat as I can, because if this is flat, I don't have the insulin resistance, because the insulin resistance is when you got the big stomach. So my problem is when I see people with a big stomach, I know they have insulin resistance. I know they're going to have heart problems and stroke problems and liver and kidney. And I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm trying to warn them, hey, you got diabetes, you've got insulin resistance. You need to get that stomach down, because what it means is there's too much insulin in your cells. There's too much sugar in it. You got to stop eating it. If you do what I do and you wait till noon to eat, and you eat avocados and green tea and meat and eggs, and you don't eat sugar and carbs, it just falls off of you like it did with me. And now I'm healthy because I don't have the sugar, which is what's killing 90% of the people with diabetes and insulin. So the government's trying all these different ways to kill us. Well, let's do insulin resistant. Well, we'll feed them all sugar and carbs. Well, okay, some of them are dropping. Let's take their money. Okay, some of them are dropping. We'll do the vaccine and we'll do COVID, and some of them are dropping, but we're not dropping fast enough. So they're thinking of ways, how else can we kill these people? There's too many people. We need to kill them. I mean, that's the sick part about George Soros. He wants to run the Nazi playbook and kill everybody. So I don't know what to do. I tried telling, there's one guy I went and told, and I said, you got insulin resistance. You need to stop with the carbs. He wears this little thing on his chest or his arm, and he monitors his insulin. And I go, you can't have that. You cannot take any more insulin in. There's no room for it. Your cell's full of sugar. That's why giving it more insulin, it's not going to go anywhere. It's full. There's nowhere it can go. It's like this cup of water is full. So what am I going to do? Add more water to it? Well, the water's just going to fall out. There's no room for the water. I have to empty the water to let new water in. And the only way to do that is don't eat and do what I do, where you got an 18-hour fast. The difference is I do it every day. I eat my dinner. Sometimes I have a snack. I've been getting fucked up here because I'm doing these shows and I'm not really eating, or I tend to eat a little now. When the show's over, I'll eat lunch. Let's say I'll have my eggs or chicken or whatever. And it's 3:30 and I don't know what to do because I want to eat by 6, but I can't eat a meal at 3:30 and then come back with the meal at 6. And then I skip the 6 o'clock meal. Then I go swimming, and by 8 o'clock, I am hungry. So I nibble a little bit, a salad or chicken or something, and it's screwing, then I'm eating till like now, noon, 12:30. So instead of eating dinner at 6 and then eating lunch at noon, which is 18 hours, I'm kind of so hungry at 7, 8 o'clock when I get home from swim that I'm nibbling a little bit here. Even though with the tea or water, I'm still eating something and going from there. But so it's a little difficult. But so I try to help people. I try to help people with the goal. I try to help people here. And like now, I'm trying to help you with football. Football is the most confusing thing you can possibly try to imagine. I remember first talking to Nick, he wanted to do formulas. And I kept saying, Nick, you can't formula this. There's too many variables. And he kept like trying to sell me on, oh, I can do it. And I kept saying, you can't. This is something you can't formula. This is like trying to formula inflation. You can't. You just see the prices are up. They're printing a lot of money. Okay, that's inflation. And you just have to accept some stuff. So, bottom line here is I've got it down to about as good of a science and art as you can get. But it's very difficult. I'm looking at, SMU, BYU. I can't figure it out because I don't know who's playing. And now they're really throwing a wrench into these bowl games with the guy going transfer portal, or I'm getting ready for the draft. But he can get ready for the draft and kick off. So we can be sitting there. We can bet Oregon State. At least we know the Florida guy's already announced. But let's say he didn't. Let's say we bet the over, and then the Florida quarterback says 20 minutes before game time, I'm sitting out. Well, now what do? We're all fucked. So that's the problem with it. So let's make this a little more difficult because now we don't know what player is playing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they see a lot of money go on one team and all of a sudden that player decides to sit out. I already think that happened with Utah and Rising in one game when at kickoff he says, yeah, I'm not playing. And there was a lot of money bet on Utah and they didn't cover, but they did win. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, with the insulin resistant, again, you got to be careful with the sugars and with the fasting. The fasting allows the cells to heal. The fasting takes the water from full to half. That's what the fasting does, so your body can clean it. So it cleans out your sugars. And then not having the sugar, the carbs, the ice cream, the chocolate, all the crap, all the sugar, if you start avoiding that and you do the fast, then you get very healthy very quickly. But back to Mike Leach, when I see him so heavy, or I see coaches, Brett Bielema, when he announces his heart attack, you're just like, well, yeah, obviously you're 200 pounds overweight. Of course you've got diabetes. What are you thinking? And these coaches, this is the problem where nobody's educated in economics, nobody's educated in eating and in diabetes and all this stuff. And they just go on thinking I'll be fine. And then next thing you know, boom. So it's very sad to see. And, but not surprising when you look at a real heavy coach that he does have complications of a stroke or a heart attack. That's pretty obvious. He's going to get that because he's got diabetes and insulin resistance. I love when people say they don't, right? They got the big stomach. I go, I'm sorry, you got diabetes. Oh, no, I don't. Well, yeah, you do. That's the sign you have diabetes. You can't hide it. And then people who are heavy drinkers don't realize that it's all sugar. So that's not good for your liver and it's not good for you. So yeah, people, well, I need it. Okay, I get it, but just be careful with it. Make sure you fast enough and have enough water to get the sugar of the alcohol out of your system. So you might have to do a 3-day fast if you want to drink to clean yourself. Anyway, so yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. So how is it, now, how does that affect Mississippi State and Illinois? Illinois minus 2.5. They got a stud runner and a great defense. Over under 46.5. So I still like the game under. And without Leach, it should be an even bigger under, but we'll see. So that's where our task is. So we went up through the 20th. I'm not going to play every game, so don't think I will. I don't. I only play the prudent games, and I tend to play more starting probably with the 28th. We got Coastal Carolina, East Carolina, UCF, Duke, Kansas, Oregon. So right around the 28th to the 2nd, I will play a lot more games with a lot more news. If everybody's playing, I know how I'm going to play them, and we'll play it that way. At this point, it's very hard for me to play. Only I can play the TCU, Michigan, and the Georgia game because I know nobody's sitting out to get ready for the draft. Where I could lose. Well, you already lost 2 Texas players, and did you lose a Washington? Are we losing? I think Slovis left Pitt. Did we lose UCLA? Is Charbonnet or Thompson Robinson getting ready? How much do they want to play for their school, and how much do they say, fuck it, I'm just going to sit out and get drafted? They're certainly going to get drafted, Charbonnet and Thompson Robinson. But how much loyalty is it to their college and their coach? I'm going to play for them. As all these players should be. To sit out's a joke. And again, it takes me to, Oregon State. Well, why didn't No, the better game is the Texas game, right? Baylor, Texas. So why did the running backs on Texas play against Baylor? Why did they? I don't understand why they played that game. It was an exhibition. They weren't going to win the Big 12. that was already TCU, Kansas State. What the fuck are they doing? So that's really what you wonder why they played that game, and now they choose to sit out a bowl game where everybody's watching and they can really show their talent. Now they can't. Now they're, the big game they're sitting out, which makes no sense. So again, if we go through this, Miami of Ohio, UAB, under team against the B team. I like the game under. Miami of Ohio, pretty low scoring team. UTSA, Troy, UTSA, very strong team. Troy, more of an under team who's been scoring lately. I like the game over. Cincinnati, Louisville, both coaches are gone. What the fuck? Louisville's -1. The starting quarterback for Cincinnati is injured. He's not sitting out to get ready for the draft. He's sitting out because he's injured. Over under 42.5, probably an under. Both these teams have been under the whole year. They both have new coaches, but that's not going to matter. SMU, BYU should be an over. Normally, it went from 75 to 64. In Teaser World, we're laying 58 with SMU. They're going to play. They're going to score, and that leaves BYU with their backup quarterback. But he knows he's going to play. He should be out there. Washington State, Fresno State. I like Fresno as the dog. Now they've jumped to a 3-point favorite. I don't know why Hayner's playing. This is under two strong defenses, so I like the game under. I like Hayner as the dog, but now he's 3-point favorite. I don't know what to do with it. I think it's just an under. Rice S and Southern Miss. I have no idea why this is a bowl game. They're both in the same Conference USA. It makes no sense. Florida, Oregon State. The quarterback sitting out like he's any good at Florida. Just scratch my head. The guy I don't think had, completed 40%, and he had more interceptions than touchdowns. Why is he sitting out again? Who's going to draft this guy? And once they get drafted, as soon as he's playing, we're betting against him unless he pulls the fields, and then we'll just bet over on these guys. So I like Oregon State and the over in the game. North Texas, Boise. I guess I got to go over. This is a North Texas high-scoring team. Boise's changed quarterbacks, scoring a little bit more. That's what I was looking for. Boise. So let's look at Bowling Green, Ohio. Okay, so Bowling Green plays Ohio. Ohio beats them 38-14. New Mexico State killed somebody. Let's follow the bouncing ball. New Mexico State. Where were they? Where's New Mexico State? They beat somebody like 48-7 or something. Oh, come on. Sorry, there's so many teams. It's nice to only write one page and not two in my stats, as there's only so many bowl games. It still seems light. It seems like 5 or 6 teams aren't playing or something happened. Come on, where's New Mexico State? Oh, here it is. So New Mexico State beats Liberty 49-14. Bowling Green loses to Ohio 38-14. And now Bowling Green's 3-point favorite over New Mexico State. And you want to tell me that the New Mexico State quarterback's getting ready for the pros because he puts up 49? Good quarterback. I don't understand this game. I love New Mexico State. Getting that, we'll get there next week, but I don't get them as the dog in this game. I like them as the favorite. Bowling Green doesn't show me anything. So very strange. So where was I? So Boise, that's what we're looking up. Excuse me again. Boise. Boise beat Utah State 42-23. Now, the reason that's important is Boise scored, and we've got them here. Where is it? Come on. Against North Texas, right? So it's only a 56. We got Boise scoring 42. We got North Texas who they played a pretty big scoring game also, North Texas. Where is it? This is the problem when there's 130 teams. North Texas. Hey. Excuse me, where are they? By the time I find them, I'll forget my thought. They're there. North Texas beat Rice 21-17. So the thought was North Texas, Boise over. We see Boise scoring a lot, but North Texas, I don't know what happened with Rice, 21-17. This doesn't make any sense. So that's the gist of it. So we liked North Texas, Boise over. Marshall, Connecticut, we like the game under. Connecticut's got some injuries. We might like Marshall, but Marshall's just going to shut them out. Eastern Michigan, San Jose State. We like San Jose State's a weak favorite. And Toledo Liberty, we like Toledo. We like the game over. Liberty's pretty bad. Toledo's pretty good. Although they lost to Western. So, very inconsistent. You got to be careful. This is the problem in the first week. You got the MAC, the Sun Belt, Conference USA, whose games, these are the weaker teams in there. So it's really hard to bet on them. We do get lucky with an Oregon State game, Cincinnati, Louisville. We got UTSA. We got Washington State, Fresno State. Those will be the games I'll be focusing on. Again, bowl special 125 for all the bowl games. There'll be, depending if everybody plays, there'll be a lot of locks. I might if the Florida quarterback isn't playing, I could turn that game into a lock, which I wasn't planning on, which Oregon State, Florida was going to be an over, is now maybe an Oregon State play, or do I still go over with it? How's Florida's backup? Is he any good? Am I going to be okay with that? Or do I just take Oregon State and their defense will suffocate them and win that way? So as these guys like Texas is out, but Washington's still the dog. Okay, now I might like Washington because they're going to score on Texas, and Texas, you've taken out their running backs who get you a lot of points. The over-under is 68 without the running backs. That seems crazy. So maybe I like Washington in 11. So that's what I start stumbling on. Again, the games I can post are the championship game where they're going to play TCU, Georgia. Those games I probably will post very soon. Georgia's staying at 6.5. I don't think the need, but I'm a little bit I like Texas TCU, and they dropped from 10 to 7.5. I'm like, okay, I don't want that to drop too much more, so I might get that in. But anyway, so www.teaserking.com. Get my email, ask me questions. 125 for all the bowl games. You'll get the password for the end. So as I put them up, you'll see all the college. If I put college and pro together, which I do sometimes, you'll see that. If you want the remainder of the year, everything, $200, you'll get all the pros and all the college bowls. So you can have that because there's still a good 4 weeks of pros plus the playoffs. So you basically have all the bowls and college playoff and you always get all the locks. And then the NFL, the last few weeks, which are a lot of strong plays there, teams need to win. That always is good plays. And then the NFL playoff through the Super Bowl. Now, one note in the one thing you should know, when I went and won 11, and I was 11-11 in my teaser sheets that I show you on my Twitter. I go 11-0 and 10-0. And it was the last week of the regular season and included some bowl games. So Brady needed for the 1 seed, Manning needed for the 1 seed, Rodgers needed it. Everybody needed it for the 1 and 2 seeds, and they all won. Then you had a couple of over-unders, which won. And then I had 3 playoff games. I had UCLA over VTech. UCLA killed them. I had Michigan State over Stanford, Michigan State getting points. When Michigan State had that dynamite no-fly zone team, that one easy. And then it was all left to Florida State over Auburn. Much like here, Florida State was 7. I immediately teased it down to 1 going, well, nobody's beating Florida State. The line then goes up to 11, and then it was an easy trap. Much like Georgia, I can easily see putting it in if I had a 10-teamer, Georgia even, and then if the line goes up to 11, then I could easily take Ohio State in 11, but I don't see that happening. Hey, Prophet, are you watching the World Cup semis today? No, sir, I don't watch soccer. I was watching some stuff on the digital dollar, so I don't know if I should talk about it here or do another economics video that would just stick to it, because it would be hard to find it, in the middle of this to start talking gold or digital dollar. If you're tuning in for college polls, it's not easy to find. Oh, what did he say about economics? Oh, well, let's go to hour 125 for it. So I think I'm better off just sticking to football here at this point. So as we saw, New England did win. And again, the Kyler Murray gets hurt the first play and he's out, and New England wins. So I got to recalibrate my stats. So I'm going to go and I update my stats, putting down where, like, New England is a road favorite, wins, bet against them, you lose. I do that for every team and get a new flush of where every team's at, as well as update the stats for the offense and defense, which really are pretty much stable right now. And then I just look at the quarterbacks, who's good and bad. Now with Arizona, now we got Colt McCoy, because Murray hurt his knee. I can't imagine he's going to play, but we'll note it. Arizona next week. So Arizona where are they? They're at Denver favored. Well, I guarantee you they're not favored now. They were 1.5, so I would say it's probably back to Denver -2, which is where they were yesterday. Can Denver beat anybody? This looks like a great under without Murray. Colt McCoy was terrible in college. It was terrible at Texas. I don't understand. He's okay, but he's not, he's just average. Part of the average Joes. Profit, liking Croatia +420 and the draw +220. Okay. Bon appetit, as I like to say. Actually, my girlfriend in Europe likes to say that to me. I've never heard of it before. And then I'm with her, and then I say, well, I'm eating dinner now. So we share a lot of what we're doing because we're so far away. And she'll go, bon appetit. So bon appetit, Prophet. Enjoy the soccer. I wouldn't know how to bet it. I don't want to bet it. I don't know anything about it. It's way too boring. It's like watching baseball. I mean, my God. And it's amazing is how much those guys get paid. Oh, my God. I mean, they get $20-30 million a year to kick a soccer ball around. You've got to be kidding me. Something's wrong there. But anyway. So we talked about the pros. I haven't looked at the spread yet. So anyway, I won't get into that. But so looking at college, pretty much covered it through the 20th. You got a good game on the 22nd. Baylor, Lou Lafayette, Houston, Wake Forest. We got Hartman, New Mexico State should be a live dog. Georgia Southern, Buffalo, that should be a good over. And Coastal Carolina now without McCall makes East Carolina look very live. See, again, you're assuming that East Carolina's quarterback, Ahlert, plays. So if he plays, they'll kill Coastal Carolina because Coastal Carolina has no offense without McCall. I don't blame McCall for transferring because he'll probably go to Oregon or Oak State or one of these premier offenses who just lost their quarterback. Why Spencer Sanders would leave Oak State? Where's he going? Unless he's going, we ain't going to Alabama. I mean, maybe he's going to TCU. Is he going to Georgia? Maybe. So we will see where he goes. He's a very good quarterback, and we'll see what happens. Excuse me. I will have to call them back. You don't have to watch it. Just check the final score 2 hours later. Okay. Yeah, well, I don't know. I just don't get into it. I don't see the big deal about it. But I got to spend my time with the football. So anyway, so we got till the 2nd, and then there'll be the 2 playoff games. Actually, the 1. So this will go from 4 to 2, and then 2 to 1, or that'll be it. So then there'll be the final. So we shall see what happens. I still think that the playoff, Utah, USC, and it would make the bowl games better because now you got, the guy's sitting out. Where if it's a playoff game, the guy's not sitting out. Utah's going to play USC. It'll be better for everybody to have 12 or 16 teams. Then they're playing. They're not going to sit out for the draft. This whole sit out for the draft is such bullshit. I don't really understand it. What the point is of it. So I just don't get it. Anyway, I think that's about it. So I might come back on with some economic news because, again, I don't want to squish them together. So you're coming on for football, you get your football. Then I'll do one for economics, and we'll talk economics. So I think I'll come back with that. I do have some interesting news on the gold and silver, and then on the whole digital dollar thing. So real quick, but I'll do it again, is I don't think we'll be forced to do digital dollar. I think it'll be an option. So if you do have U.S. dollars, you're going to exchange them for new U.S. dollars, not just only digital dollars. So digital dollars will be out there, but it won't be the only choice. Sort of like now, you can sign up and do Bitcoin, but you don't have to. And that's how digital dollars will be. It'll probably be, if you want Social Security or welfare or Medicare, you need to be on digital dollars. Otherwise, you don't. The dollar will go away, but it'll, I'm sure, replace it with a new dollar. So you have your money in your safe, you go and exchange it for the new dollar, I'm assuming is what's going to happen. I was in the middle of watching one guy, but it was too long and I wanted to come up here. So let me end here, and then we'll go to an economics video in about a half. Let me eat, and then we'll come back to that. All right, www.teaserking.com. I don't know if Murray's out next week. I assume he is. He hurt his knee pretty bad. He hurt his knee the first play, and they took him out on a stretcher. So I don't know if he tore ligaments or what, but I can't imagine he's fine after being carted off the field. So anyway, that's what's happening. So watch your injury list. www.teaserking.com. Again, please, if you want to email me, do that. You'll get the email on the site. Again, $125 for all the bowl games. If you want all the games, $200. Just hit a $200 and email me that you want all the games for $200, and then I'll give you that password for the end of the year. Most people have already bought my full year at about $750 early in the year, so they've had it where now it's $200 for the rest of the year. But if you just wanted the bowls, it's $125. So anyway, have a good day, and I will be back shortly. We'll talk a little more economics, and I'll do a little bit of research here. Okay, thank you very much.